We welcome Iraq's steps to take its rightful place of equality and honor among the free nations of the world. Sincerely.
Good morning. Breaking news. The U.S. hands over sovereignty to Iraq 2 days early in a surprise move today, Monday, June 28th, 2004.
From NBC News, this is Today with Katie Couric and Matt Lauer. Live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Today on a Monday morning. I'm Matt Lauer.
And I'm Campbell Brown. Katie's on assignment this morning. The Iraqis were supposed to take over sovereignty on Wednesday. The timetable, though, was accelerated, apparently in a bid to surprise insurgents who were hoping to derail it. U.S. Administrator or Governor Paul Bremer handed over the documents to Iraq's Chief Justice in a small ceremony a little earlier this morning. President Bush, attending a NATO summit in Turkey, shook British Prime Minister Tony Blair's hand at the very same time to celebrate the transfer of power. We're going to get more from Tom Brokaw in Baghdad in just a couple of minutes, and we'll, of course, have much more, including what today's surprise handover means for the future of U.S. involvement in Iraq. Campbell? And what does today's handover mean for the war on terror? Iraqi insurgents say they're holding a U.S. Marine hostage, and they are threatening to behead him. We'll get more on that just ahead. Plus, Michael Moore's controversial documentary slamming the Bush administration over Iraq breaks box office records, and we'll have much more on a big weekend for Fahrenheit 9/11. But first, that surprise handover of power in Iraq today. NBC's Richard Engel is in Baghdad. Richard, good morning. And we're hearing here in the States that the idea for this early handover came from the interim Prime Minister Alawi in Iraq. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, Matt, NBC News has learned that Alawi himself was pushing for this. He wanted to show that his new government is nimble, is willing to make decisions, and willing to act quickly, so that it was he who pushed for this handover of authority to happen 2 days ahead of schedule, and it has now officially taken place. Paul Bremer, who was in charge of the CPA, the Coalition Provisional Authority, an organization which, as of today, no longer exists, has left the country, and also a major symbol of Iraq's new autonomy. Coalition officials are saying that within a week, the formal legal custody of Saddam Hussein will be transferred to this new Iraqi government. Matt?
Richard, what about reaction in the streets there? Anything noticeable?
Iraqis are generally very excited about this. The streets today were quiet. A lot of people chose to stay home. People are worried that there could be some sort of violence, and there are a lot of people are attentively watching their televisions and listening to the radios, expecting that there could be some sort of announcements regarding state of emergencies or curfews. But so far, things have been quiet and nothing has been imposed.
And do we have any idea exactly when a more formal ceremony might take place, or was that it? What we saw with Paul Bremer, was that all we're going to see?
There should be, in a short while, a swearing-in ceremony of Alawi's new government. That will be a larger ceremony than the one that took place this morning. It happened very quickly, without much prior notice. The Iraqi officials gathering quickly together with Paul Bremer, who, with the stroke of a pen, signed over the authority that he had been given as the head of the Coalition Provisional Authority, and gave it. First, he handed this document to Iraq's Chief Justice, then handing it to Iraq's interim president, and then it was passed on to the Prime Minister. So a small, formal ceremony, but one that happened behind closed doors practically and very quickly.
In Baghdad, NBC's Richard Engel. Richard, thanks very much. Let's turn now to NBC's Tom Brokaw, who's also in Baghdad. Tom, good morning. The handover came 2 days early. Is it safe to say it was a surprise to just about everyone?
I think everyone on the ground here, although I talked to Ambassador Jerry Bremer, who's now gone from here, and a senior White House official, they said that they've been working on this for most of the month of June. They thought the June 30th turnover date had become kind of a big bullseye for the insurgents, so they wanted to do it in advance. They also felt confident that the new interim government was more confident every day in its ability to run things here. And as the senior White House official said, they woke up this morning, realized that there were no series of car bombs anywhere in Iraq. The security situation, while that not yet under control, was at least okay for them to turn over power. And so it happened this morning at 10:30 Baghdad time. That means the new Iraqi government now, Matt, is less than 6 hours old.
And Tom, how quickly did word of this spread to the Iraqi citizens? How did it spread and what was the reaction?
Well, they have very good television here now. Almost every home has a satellite dish. There's also an American-sponsored radio network here. I think that the reaction so far has been muted. This is a country that is living with great tension and great fear every day. The big question is, what happens now to the insurgency? Can the Iraqi people feel free to fight back, as it were? One of the American officials said to me, it's important for the Iraqi people now to feel that they're fighting for their own country. They felt in the past, several months at least, that they were at best surrogates of the American military. Now the question is, are the Iraqi people up to taking control of their country in every sense of the word, politically and militarily?
Yeah, and in terms of security, Tom, I mean, it was just last week that Iraq's interior minister moved out of his offices and into kind of a makeshift bomb shelter and was carrying on operations from there. So here we are just 4 or 5 days later, and the question has to be asked, and you hinted at this in your very first answer. Do they really have a sense that they can hold down the fort, especially in these next days and weeks where the insurgents are going to be trying to wreak havoc?
I don't think that they know, Matt. I think that they all agree that signing this piece of paper is not going to make the insurgency go away. And it's important for the American people to know that the American military is not going away either. Their role, they hope, will begin to evolve and that Iraqi forces will begin to assume more responsibility. I spent part of the weekend with General Petraeus, the American commander in charge of reconstituting the Iraqi army and the National Police Force. He's got less than a year to whip them into shape. They're a long way from having that happening so far. So the American military will still bear the brunt of trying to secure this country. And operations are underway, even as you and I talk here today, trying to bring down that terrorist network and the insurgency.
Well, let's talk more about that, because there are reports of a possible arrest of Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. He's the guy said to be the #1 al-Qaeda guy in Iraq who's carried on a campaign of bombings that have killed hundreds, if not thousands. Can you tell anything more about what information you're hearing about his possible arrest?
Well, we're getting all those rumors as well. They were on Iraqi television, then they were knocked down because apparently it originated with an Italian television report. Then there was another report that they did arrest a terrorist with the name Zarqawi, but it was not Musab al-Zarqawi. So we just don't know at this point. Plainly, he is the #1 target. And based on what I learned before I came over here from American officials in Washington and also on the ground here, they feel like they're beginning to close in on him, but he's a very, very canny operative. And those simultaneous strikes across the country last week were frankly unsettling to the American military commanders here as well as to the Iraqi people, because they showed a degree of coordination and sophistication that they had not seen in the past. So it's important for them to knock down this insurgency in a major way, because they're not just fighting hit-and-run guerrillas now. It appears that it's a very sophisticated operation that is extremely well coordinated, not just in the north of Iraq, but across the country.
With, as a State Department official said, a central nervous system. Tom Brokaw in Baghdad for us this morning. Tom, lots to keep up with. Thanks very much.
All right, Matt, I'll see you tonight on NBC Nightly News. I know you'll be watching.
You got it. Thanks very much. 7:08, here's Campbell.
Matt, thanks. Retired General Barry McCaffrey is an NBC News analyst. General McCaffrey, good morning.
Good morning, Campbell.
What happened today doesn't change the fact that there are 160,000 U.S.
The U.S. Marine being held hostage in Iraq with time running out. NBC's Tom Aspell's in Baghdad with more on that. Tom, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt. Well, Al Jazeera has broadcast pictures of what...
News analyst Roger Cressy is a counterterrorism expert. Roger, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
A little bit of... 17 minutes after the hour now. Let's get the rest of the top stories from Natalie Morales, who's in for Ann at the news desk. Natalie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt and Campbell, and good morning to you. The White House is welcoming today's handover of sovereignty, calling it a proud day for Iraq. At the time of the handover, the president shook hands with British Prime Minister Tony Blair at the NATO summit in Turkey. Outside the summit meeting, thousands of anti-war protesters clashed with police. Tens of thousands of police are on duty in Istanbul. NATO leaders today formally agreed to provide training to Iraqi forces. Gas prices are down again. Analysts say they dropped almost 7 cents a gallon in the last 2 weeks to a nationwide average of $1.97. A California woman is now recovering this morning from a weekend mountain lion attack. Shannon Parker was hiking Saturday in Central California when she was attacked. Friends stabbed the animal and threw rocks at it until it ran off. The mountain lion was later shot and killed. Parker underwent reconstructive surgery on Sunday. Investigations are underway looking into 2 separate helicopter crashes over the weekend. In Oklahoma, a helicopter on a sightseeing trip clipped power lines and went down in a river Saturday night, killing 2 people. 3 people were killed near Atlanta when their helicopter crashed behind a home on Sunday. An earthquake hit the Midwest this morning. It was centered in northern Illinois, but it rattled windows from Wisconsin to Indiana. There were no reports of serious damage or injuries from the magnitude 4.5 quake. Another quake, a magnitude 7, hit southern Alaska. No serious damage there. A Minnesota woman made quite a leap of faith to celebrate her 90th birthday. She went skydiving. 90-year-old Eileen Frisch said it wasn't at all scary. It was like getting in and out of the car. Yeah, at Mach warp speed. It is now 7:19. Back over to Matt and Campbell. It's great for her.
Basically said, take that, former President Bush.
Exactly.
10
I'll
years
show you.
your senior. Exactly. Natalie, thanks very much.
Sure.
Al's not with us this morning. He is out on the left coast. He's at Universal Studios Hollywood this morning. Hey, Al.
Hey, Natalie, Matt, how you doing? We are here, as you said, at our sister company, Universal Studios. We're going to be talking about some stuff here first, but let's get a look at what's going on as far as your weather is concerned, and we'll show you. We've got flash flood watches up for parts of Texas. The ground's already been soaked from all that heavy rain, so it's not going to take much to cause flooding. Some heavy rain also starting to develop. Severe storms later today in the southeastern Atlantic states. Hit or miss showers and thunderstorms in the Pacific Northwest. 73 here in L.A. today. 89 in Miami. Look for some afternoon showers in interior sections of New York with a high of 79 in New York City. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Art Horn. Let's take a look at the temperatures right now, and it's only 49 in Willimantic, 50 in Meriden, 54 in New Haven, and 55 in New London. So kind of a cool start to the day. We are free of precipitation now, but notice off to the west there is an area of rain that is moving in this direction. That will arrive this evening. Partly sunny, low humidity today in inland areas.
That's your latest weather. Matt and Campbell.
All right. Al, thank you very much. I'll take it. A reason for President Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair to celebrate today. We'll have much more on this morning's surprise handover of power to the Iraqis. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Not just between continents, but also between cultures.
Tonight, according to 2 sources, John Kerry is very likely to pick John Edwards as his